Welcome everybody. We've got a really slow rendition of this song. Oh, here we go. It's picking up a little with Harry Connick in the background. Welcome to Wine Wednesday, the Valentine's Day special. This is Max Tim and
Felicity Wren
with the International Screenwriters Association, and a little bit of Harry Connick and one Harry Met Sally in the background.
Yeah, let's cool the whole thing off.
I hope everybody can hear us. Let me just do a little something to make sure we've got the correct audio. This would be better. All right, just change the setting a little bit. Welcome Shayna Weber Band. Welcome everybody. So, happy almost Valentine's Day. I hope it's happy for you anyway. Some people don't like Valentine's Day. I really just couldn't care any less.
Happy Card Day.
Happy Card and Flower Giving Day. I am going to find this on my Facebook page and share it, and hopefully reach a wider audience. That's how it works, right?
You're amazing.
We're trying,
like so tech savvy.
Trying to reach as many people as possible. We're gonna let a few folks jump in and join us here. With a little Harry Connick in the background. We're gonna pour some wine. Yeah, let me share this. Share, right, post.
I'm trying to share as well. Screenwriting.
Posted. I hope I posted it to the right thing. I'm not a novice, but then again, I don't think I know exactly what I'm doing. But what are we going to talk about today?
We are talking about romance. Movies. Writing a good romantic scene, your favorite romantic movies, and I don't know, moments.
Our favorite romantic moments, movie moments.
Movie moments.
Favorite romantic movie moments. Say that 5 times fast. In that voice. We would like to, as always, thank our wonderful host, which, of course, now that's too bright, you can't see it. But it's a beautiful label by Steel Wines. This is Zinfandel, Catfish Vineyard, Centennial Vines. Their Pinot Noir is really yummy. This is not part of the writer's block, but, you know, it's Steel Wines, man. They're always good. They're always amazing. Northern California. I'm going to open this up while Felicity dances and maybe even give some announcements. But this is the type of broadcast, everybody, that we would like to hear what your favorite moments are, too. You can agree and disagree with ours. Felicity and I both made a separate list. I have a top 20. She has a list. Some of them cross over. It's just going to be interesting to, obviously, just to see what is on the list. We also want to kind of talk about what makes for a great moment, not only romantically, but just emotionally. What makes a moment emotional? And it's so much more than just the moment itself. So, you know, we'll go into all this. And hopefully everybody's having a good year. Hopefully
everyone has someone to love.
And, you know, just as a little tip, when you're opening wine, it's very improper to put it on your knee. So
improper. Especially only if you're serving it to someone else, surely.
Yeah, I suppose. If you're by yourself, who gives a damn?
Well, also, I mean, in a restaurant, yeah, if you're there going, 1 second, just putting it between your legs. Yeah, warming up near your testicolas.
Yeah, if you're a server, that's not a good idea.
So don't do that.
Yeah, but a huge
Especially if you're a woman, because you don't have any testicles.
I don't know if we need to use the word testicles as often as we've been using it.
You just said it again. Oh.
Oh dear.
We do not have the rights to Harry Connick Jr. I wish I did. That's someone I'd like to see Harry Connick Jr.'s testicles.
Jeez, this is supposed to be a romantic broadcast, not a horny one.
I think it started when I saw.
I don't know if anybody
Pitt.
actually wants to see anybody's testicles.
Actually, I agree. They're very ugly. It started when I was looking for romantic moments. I haven't seen the movie Legends of the Fall, but it just so happened that is one that's on a top 10 list for someone, and
pretty steamy.
And they kind of got to the moment where Brad Pitt's making sweet love to the female character in it, and I was like, oh, he's got long hair in it, and he looks so beautiful. I was like, oh no,
oh no, my night's ruined.
Oh no, now I feel discombobulated.
Well, a huge thanks again to Steel Wines.
I love
And
you,
the
Steel
other,
Wines. Thank you, Drew.
the other sponsor that we have is, who's the other sponsor?
Don't know.
Some weird consulting company called The Story Farm.
Weirdy, pantsered beardy.
That's my Story Farm. It's my consulting company. If you guys don't know what it is, you can go to thestoryfarm.org. I have a whole bunch of call packages where you can purchase a package of calls from 4 to 6 to 8 to 12. Pretty inexpensive when you start doing the math, considering I'll read and evaluate, give you full notes over the phone, record the call. And for the calls that are in the packages of 4 or 6, you have 6 months to use them. In the packages of 8 or 12, you have 12 months to use them. So you got a lot of time. And I go through everything very thoroughly. And you don't even need to use the calls for a full evaluation. You can use it to ask questions or anything. What we did not put in the title or the little comment section here is that we are going to play a little trivia at the end of this, and I'm realizing that we didn't bring up any trivia questions.
No, I'm just trying to find one. That's why I was looking preoccupied, a bit preoccupied. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We have a few announcements, but thank you still.
Let's say hello to some folks.
Mary Davis, I've been reading about your heart.
Yeah, well, hopefully
sending
you're feeling
lots
all right,
of love
Mary.
to your
sending
heart.
Some love wishes, yeah. Hello to Robin and Dawn and Amy Lee, Shayna Weber Band. We're already throwing things out. I love it. Mary Davis says the ones on the screen are in the seats. Oh, I answered the early. Okay, I think they're having a conversation. Save Ferris. Yeah, I'm wearing a Save Ferris shirt, not because Ferris Bueller is a romantic movie, but there are some nice little touching moments in that movie.
Yeah.
It's this romantic moment by destroying the car at the end.
How romantic.
There's a little bit of a different meaning of romance with Cameron and how he's going to stand up to his dad. It's like this big moment for that kid. He's going to tell his dad, "You got to stop being so horrible." You know,
stop being a dick.
It's not necessarily romantic. Anyway, I cut you off multiple times. Go ahead.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Probably something extremely important.
Very important. I was going to do the announcements. Just a quick one. Fast track. Final deadline is tonight for February 12th. For accepting 2 screenplays with 1 application fee. Do that. Shoot Your Short has just launched, which is an amazing new contest. It's a bit like Shoot Your Sizzle, but actually we're going to do shorts instead, and we're going to do the whole thing, and we are, the ISA, are actually going to
produce and film your short.
Film and make it happen. So the current offer is add feedback for only $20 to your entry in the early deadline and submit a rewrite before the final deadline for free. So that's a good deal. Creative Screenwriting Contest, the regular deadline is March 31st, only $39 to enter. Also accepting entries elsewhere, but enter on the ISA site. Become an ISA Connect member. Your script produced international script competition, the early deadline is March 22nd. The feature winner produced for $250,000. TV pilot produced for $10,000, short script produced for $10,000 guaranteed.
There you go.
That's very, very exciting. Those things will all be listed for you. I don't want to spend a long time talking about them.
Carissa will put those in the comments.
We need to talk about love.
But
real
what
love
is the last thing that we want to mention?
Third Thursday.
Third Thursdays next week. Thursday the 20th is the third Thursday of the month. I just want to double check on that. For some reason, yes, it is. And I wasn't sure, but I wanted to.
But I know that one of our own, Scott Marcus and Rebecca Williams Spindler, are actually going to do the new Third Thursdays in Madison.
Launching in Madison, Wisconsin, my home state.
For 15 places now. 15 Third Thursdays going on. And Wine Wednesdays is going to be changing.
We're changing the format a little bit. I'm stepping down. Wah, wah. I'm not going to be gone forever, but we're going to be bringing in a lot of different people to accompany the wonderful Felicity Wren, and she's going to be taking the reins, and she's going to be the go-to primary host.
Well, it's just the fact that you're going to get to see a few more people that work for the ISA. We're going to have a new kind of segment called Wine Wednesdays, spelled WHINE, as in wine.
And on my last broadcast, the only time I ever choke on the wine.
Just because he can't stand that he might not be doing it, so he's trying to cough now to get some attention.
Could have been a lot worse.
So yeah, we're going to do little segments. Wine Wednesdays. We're going to talk about March Madness is the next one. You're going to meet other members. Carissa, our lovely social manager, media expert. We're going to meet Joan Lauder, the creative executive. Shayna is going to play too if she feels like it.
Amy's throw everybody.
Amy.
Amy's coming in. Yeah, it's going to be a nice little just musical chairs, if you will. Sometimes you get multiple people on. Sometimes it's just one and two.
Sometimes we'll have a special guest.
Yeah.
So
you're going to keep going strong, but I am handing over my portion of Wine Wednesday. It's been fun. It's been really fun, you know. But I'll come back on. It's not like you'll never see me again. Cue the violin.
Tiny one.
Yeah, right. Well, this is how she thanks me. All right, so let's dive into this. I do want to hear everybody's comments on what they feel is their favorite romantic, loving moment in a movie. It doesn't necessarily have to be just two people saying "I love you" or whatever, right? It's usually what it is, but I have a couple in mind that are not traditional. And here comes the cat across there you go. Nice cat tail right in the front. Thank you, Bella. Right in Felicity's face. Let's block my owner.
That's about right.
Come on, here we go. There we go. Let's keep it moving. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about our favorites, and I want to know all of your favorites, just right off the top of your head. You could agree with us, you could disagree with our lists. This is going to be fun. We're just going to go little by little and talk about the scenes and moments and why they are so meaningful.
Yes.
So maybe I'll start down at the bottom of my list. We can go. How many did you make?
Oh, I didn't number mine.
I was a little more. Oh, you have a ton. All right, so maybe go with one. I'm assuming you have a top 5 here, so maybe let's not do some of your all-time favorites, and then we'll go down to some of the bottom ones. Oh, About Time has some really great moments. Do you remember what the moment is?
No.
No?
No, I was thinking About Time is kind of a love letter between, it feels like a son and a father, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that as another kind of moment of love, but not a traditional man and woman. I realized that I didn't have very many others other than men and women for romance, and I hope that changes soon.
I mean, most of mine are that way
so that we
too.
can actually have some realize there's other people than just men and women falling in love in the world.
Did you notice anything about did you notice a pattern about any of the scenes? Anything in particular that if you were to look at all of your scenes and you think, why do I love these moments so much? Obviously beyond the love thing. But what makes this just in general so much fun and entertaining and powerful?
I guess for me, the ones that I like the best were when actually it was deciding to go on against all odds.
Yes.
Or that they aren't together, but they have a moment that says, I love you.
Right.
And even if you're not going to remain together.
I completely agree. We didn't talk about this beforehand. So, I was going to sum it up by saying conflict. Like, there's real conflict in the moment, as opposed to it just being like my number 10, which it's probably going to be moved down a little bit as we talk through this. But I love the scene so much from Moulin Rouge where Ewan McGregor sings your song to Nicole Kidman. Because it just has this feeling of that's what cinematic love in my brain feels like it should look like.
Come What May.
But yeah, Come What May is an amazing song. But that moment doesn't really have conflict. They're happy. Everything's working out. And so it could probably fall a little bit further down the list. But most of these others that I have on here, there's real problem. Like it doesn't always work out.
Yeah. Doesn't always work out, everybody. In fact, none of them do. That is the thing about real love.
Oh,
One of you dies in the end. Sorry to... Honestly,
wow.
I must admit, I was like, are my eyes a bit gothy? I feel like I spent the afternoon looking at kind of like love moments. And as I am happily single at the moment, but single, I was like, wow, it is quite depressing though because it's kind of shoved down your throat so much about this is how to be the perfect human, this is how it's supposed to be. Whereas I think I have lots of loving relationships. I'm in love with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I just don't have the special one.
I think that what made me, I don't know if sad's the right word. I guess sad's the right word. While going through these in a negative sense, there are so many other positive things that come from watching two people, express their love for each other. But I remember how much more hopelessly romantic I was in my 20s.
Yeah, because you don't know any better.
And it was so much fun. It's almost like I missed that pain. Like there's that moment from Swingers when Jon Favreau's really depressed and then his friend comes in. Oh, God, if I said the actor's name, you'd know what I'm talking about. But the two guys talk about their breakups, and they both had really bad breakups. And Jon Favreau's friend says, in a way, I miss the pain.
Well, in your 20s, you just fling yourself in. You don't protect your heart in
You're
the same way.
dreamy. You're much more open to anything. And as you get older and you go through a few very heartbreaking moments, things become...
Boy shamoy.
You get a little jaded.
Yeah, Marks Cahill says Elf in the shower when they sing. I really like that scene too.
That's a
That
cute
is so
scene.
sweet when they join in. Mary Davis, I love moments when the characters realise they belong together.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Mary. That
Yeah.
is a really cute moment when you understand that. And hi, Marks, nice
Final
to see you.
scene
Thanks
with
for
the
coming.
son and father, many Ever After. It's been a long time since I've seen Ever After. That's with Drew Barrymore. I think it's with Drew Barrymore. But okay, keep them coming. Your favorite romantic scenes, throw them out there. But
it's nice to hear your views too, and also what it is. I mean, because we've talked about this before. I've been talking to a lot of producers this week. I've been having some great meetings around town and talking to some UK producers too. So it's been a really good week for that. But really, kind of to drill down, even if they feel like they have a whole wide range of topics or scripts that they're open to, you actually realise if you kind of keep talking to them and drag it out, that they will have a kind of certain theme that we've talked about
they're
before.
like, oh,
pressure
that's
point.
what I like. Yeah.
And actually, we all have it. And if you can find, if you can identify that, and like looking at your choices in this kind of situation will show you a lot about who you are and what you should write about.
Yeah.
So there was a Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnie movie where he's the spy.
Yes.
And she is a housewife.
Last Action Hero? I don't think it's Last Action Hero.
Does anyone know what it is? Like, he's the spy, she's
Arnold
the housewife.
Schwarzenegger.
And he kidnaps her.
Yeah.
And
they find out that, they're married in real life.
Well, they're married
He's
in
a
real
secret
life.
spy or whatever.
He's a secret spy. No, but he puts her to the test, and she's a housewife, and she totally lives up to the task. And so this was in someone's romantic top 10 movie moment.
Top 10.
And literally, it's Jamie Lee Curtis in the tiniest thong and black bikini, doing a stripper dance.
Of course, I remember that scene.
on the four-poster bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it shows you. And someone listed that as romantic, and I was like,
Well,
wow.
here's the reason beyond just the obvious of it was a guy making the list, and Jamie Lee Curtis looked amazing, and etc. Oh, interesting. Nonetheless, that scene is kind of impactful because Arnold Schwarzenegger,
it's got a tape recorder,
and he's forcing her to do this, and as she's doing it, she's realizing that's my husband, and so she gets sexier and sexier on purpose to make him uncomfortable. And so by the end of it, he's like...
What did she drop on the floor then? She picked something up off the floor.
I don't remember. But there's a realization moment within that dance scene. And Arnold Schwarzenegger then feels really uncomfortable, like, please stop doing this because you're my wife. And then they end up, that's like the coming out moment for what's happening and going on. So there is a little bit of a nice reveal there.
Yeah.
They just don't need to put her in the,
It's
the 90s.
It was the 90s. And it was such a 90s scene. And the thing is, the dance scene as well goes on forever.
Really long.
I mean, I love looking at a beautiful woman. I mean, I'm very aware of beauty. I accept it. But, oh my goodness, watching her gyrate around a pole for 50 minutes was... Well, 15 minutes, not 50. That would be a really long movie.
So, Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version, that was on most of the lists that we were looking up.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where Mr. Darcy says, I love you. And he kind of stutters through that,
I thought she had excellent makeup in that movie. That's probably all went from her dark eyes.
Trying to be you've got a jawline like Keira Knightley.
I can't do this now.
You have to be an underbite.
I have an overbite, so that's not going to work. Okay, so that wasn't romantic for me. How about another one of yours?
My number 20, I had to throw this in here because it's actually, I'm keeping it at number 20 even though it's one of my favorite movie moments. But 500 Days of Summer, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, 500 Days of Summer is a little play on how this guy named Tom dated a girl named Summer for 500 days, and the movie goes back and forth in structure. Like, they go from the happy times of the dating process to when he's completely depressed, and they bounce back and forth. But there's a scene near the end where Summer invites Tom to a party.
Who is Zooey Deschanel?
Yeah, to a party on the top of her apartment complex, and he thinks, oh, maybe she's interested again. This is after, like, post-breakup, and he's really excited. But as he goes to the apartment, it goes to a split screen, and it shows what his imagined hopeful outcome of the party will be, and the actual what happened. And what actually happens is that he finds out that she's engaged. But the romantic, happy side of it continues going. So you see how they're like all happy at the end of it, and then he's on the other side completely depressed, and he has to run out of the party because he's so brokenhearted. It's such a heartbreaking scene, and the way it's done it so well, that even though it isn't happy, there's so much conflict in there, and it was just painful to watch it, so I had to put that in my
Unrequited love, that's a big theme of yours.
Unrequited love is a big theme of mine, yeah.
Yeah. I like moving through time like Outlander. That made me think of Highlander, actually. Is that the one with Sean Connery in the...
No, the Outlander... Outlander.
No, but there's the other one called the Highlander.
There is a Highlander.
Yeah.
But that's like an action-packed thriller.
Yeah, but there's also he's in love with someone at the beginning.
Oh, I think you're right.
And all his women die because he lives forever. There's something very sad about that.
Interesting. All right, what else you got on your list?
What's Outlander then? What's the moment in
Outlander? Is the very romantic Showtime Starz series about the woman who goes back into the 16th century Scotland or 15th century Scotland, falls in love with a guy back there, and she's stuck back in time and can't get back. But the guy that she's falling in love with is like her great-great-great-great-grandfather. I don't know. It's a crazy story, but the books were incredibly popular. All right, what else you got here?
Okay, so I'm going to go with...
Low down on the list.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm kind of going with that is because someone else said as well that it's a bit kind of manipulative, the whole kind of how they get together. But I felt like this had certain things in it that were
so
kind of
sweet and
that
adorable.
Kind of come out of, into write a classic movie scene. So if you're trying to find this romantic moment, it's up on a tower. Where is it?
On top of Empire State Building. On Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. It's snowing.
A little bit.
A tiny bit of snowing. There's a kid in it. There's a teddy bear called Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Howard. And they find each other, and they're the last people allowed up. I felt like there were all these other moments, and there's
it's such a great movie moment.
Do you know what I mean? To kind of like really
And
elevate.
there was a time thing. They might miss each other.
Yeah.
Like she had to break up the engagement with her husband as they're sitting at dinner, and she looks to the left, and a heart comes up on the side of the Empire State Building. She's like, oh my God, it's a sign. I have to go. Breaks up with that poor guy. She's running to the Empire State Building, and it's just like the movie that they've been talking about for the whole movie. It's that Cary Grant movie where the girl gets hit by a car or whatever, and they have to meet on the Empire State Building, and the girl doesn't show up. It's because she was hit by a car.
Right.
And so you have all that build-up. So there's all this, like a ticking clock going on. And then they finally get there, and the only reason that they do meet is because the kid left the teddy bear on the top of the building. Yeah, no, that's my number 12. Yeah.
Robin's asking, do TV moments count? Because the whole list would be TV moments. I think yes. I mean, I feel like that's interesting. There were lists for TV moments too. I kind of the number one was the Friends moment when Monica and Chandler.
The prom night.
No, when they get married, the engagement when they get married, where he asks her once and is shit, and then he asks her, which then she's going to ask him, and then he asks her, and they have that.
There were a lot of moments in Friends that were romantic and so great.
But that was the number one TV moment. That was kind of like...
Oh, okay.
Maybe because I was looking for actual proposals. That's the weird thing.
I mean, my favorite one in Friends was when Ross and Rachel get in a fight, and she locks him out of the coffee shop.
That's the beginning one.
Yeah, that's early on, yeah.
That's them first getting together, that is. Yeah, I mean, I also had my Love Actually ones, which I thought were kind of interesting. They appeared a lot.
Yeah, there's one that's obvious, and there's one that I like.
Well, there were two that kind of kept coming up, and one was the Colin Firth, the Jamie and Aurelia.
Yes,
moment.
That's my favorite. That's my number. Wait a minute, number 5. That's top 5 for me, baby.
And then there's also Keira Knightley and with the signs,
the postcards. Signs, yeah.
I think both of them are terrible, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I think both of them. I mean, one is just like a guy trying to steal his best friend's wife. Not romantic.
That's a little rough. Yeah.
And the second one, there's quite a few I think we've talked about it before, about the pushback against Love Actually as a movie.
Yeah,
and they were saying, like, Aurelia was his servant, so he goes back, he learns Portuguese, he comes back. My thing about that scene that I like the best is the juxtaposition of the comedy with the romance. Because you have him meeting her parents, them trying to pair her off with the fat sister, again not really very PC, and then them kind of walking through the town to get to the restaurant. Yes,
right. They show
which was
where
a lot of
she
fun.
is.
Do you know what I mean? And then they had almost like the Romeo and Juliet balcony moment.
And she had been teaching herself English which I thought was just so adorable. So they'd been teaching each other, or themselves, each other's language. But also, it's the lead up to that moment, because the entire relationship was based on an inability to communicate, but love actually does prevail. That's the whole point. Like, here's another example of love does conquer all, because they couldn't even talk to each other and they still fell in love with each other. That's what I thought was just so cute.
Robin says, if TV counts, my top moment is, spoiler alert, is from this season. There is no answer, but the answer is Eleanor from The Good Place. Oh,
I need to finish The Good Place. I haven't seen it. I need to see it.
I feel like, God, that made me want to tear up even thinking about that.
Wait, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it, but I kind of understand what, after even watching that first series, I can understand what the premise was.
Okay.
And that is such a sweet thing to say. It's so sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know?
Did something wonderful with Chidi and Eleanor, yeah.
Oh, that is a lovely thing.
Well, okay, so my number 19 will go for my 20. You've heard a couple of the others. Number 19.
That's funny, Mary, by the way. Mary says, I bet as a writer, Maxie loved that she jumped into the water to save his pages. Correct.
Yeah.
And then put them in order.
But he was also saying, don't worry about it, it's terrible anyway. And she was like doing, that's such a great moment. Number 19, another kind of anti-love moment. It's in the movie Hitch, in the speed dating event, when Hitch comes in and it's the big fight. And he says, this is why dating is so hard. And it's the coming out moment for Hitch, where the love interest finds out that he is the date guru. Guy. And she's mad, and she's ruined his career. And he comes in and he says the truth and honesty, and they're both kind of affected by it because he's telling the truth. I just love that moment. And again, it's because there's so much conflict involved. You know what's at stake. They're not going to get together at that point. They don't like each other, But, of course, by the end, you know that's going to happen. But, yeah, that's my number 19. I like the scene
where he's having an allergic reaction to the
oh my God.
Food.
Yeah, he looks at himself in the mirror. Oh! Yeah. My number 18, I almost didn't include this in my top 20 just because it's so cliche at this point, but Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello, you complete me. It's a really sweet moment. You had me at Jello. It's a sweet scene, so I kept it in there. What else you got here?
These are kind of like my, I don't know that one. Great line, when Rob Reiner tells Tom Hanks tiramisu is important in dating. What's that from? That came up with something else.
Remember.
Give us a clue there, Mary.
Yeah. And Shayna doesn't like Hitch.
Worst movie ever for dating. I agree.
I like it, so you all can just go piss up a rope.
That's an interesting analogy. What was I going to say? It was an anti one again. I'll have to come back to it. I actually got Romeo and Juliet. I think that little scene with Leo DiCaprio and Claire Danes where they are through the fish tank.
It's really cute. Yeah.
And you have the modern music of the time. I mean, Baz Luhrmann, second romantic one from Baz Luhrmann, of course, because you're stood Moulin Rouge. Yeah. But you have that moment through the fish tank, and they're kind of catching each other's eye, and the fish are kind of going through, and they have this other soundtrack to it. And there's even though nothing is said, so much is said, and there is that instant fatal attraction. Which is really...
And the audience knows the story of Romeo and Juliet, so you don't really have to say anything. You just know what these two kids are going to be experiencing.
Yeah, it's just like it's also the hopefulness, isn't it? It's
right.
The beginning.
Yeah.
It's always good at the beginning. Runaway Bride, which I don't really remember.
I love Runaway Bride.
Oh, really? I put that down. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, when she asks him to marry her. Yeah. And I only found it because I probably watched it when it first came out 1 million years ago. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I included it is because she is so good in it. When she asks him and she says, I know things. She asks him, and he says, I have to think about it. And she goes, I knew you were going to say that, so I prepared this second thing. Yeah, and I think he says something. She says something to him that he said to her or something. I don't know.
I don't remember Runaway Bride. It's been a long time.
But anyway, it's really sweet, and she just kind of says, I know that I want to be with you for the rest of my life. And the way she says it is so adorable. Yeah. I don't know how anyone could have said no to that. It's just
like another moment that's in my upper level of moments. We won't talk about it. I don't want to give my top 5 away.
Everyone's bated breath.
I know. Well, this is why they're watching. Number 17 is my kind of, and I have it above those other 3 because this is one of my favorite moments, and it makes me break down like a baby every time, and I have to laugh at myself because it's so ridiculous. But the moment, and this isn't really romantic, but there's a romantic piece in there when Tom Hanks in Castaway loses Wilson, and he's screaming, "Wilson, I'm sorry." It kills me every damn time. And there's this level of, God, these two things were, this is all he had, and he had to choose one or the other. It's romantic in a basic definition of that word. I just love that moment. That's my number 17.
Okay. That's nice.
She doesn't like it. Fine.
I try not to make judgments on you about.
She makes judgments all the time.
I like this one, Princess Bride. Though I wish, Dawn says, though I wish there was a version that didn't interrupt the final kiss. So there's a few moments in Princess Bride. We did actually talk about that. There's the moment when he's Dread Pirate Roberts and he falls down the hill, As You Wish.
Number 8, that's my number 8, As You Wish, and she realizes as he's saying that.
And then tumbles after her.
Yeah.
I also think there's a romantic kind of fun, old-timey kind of element to Billy Crystal and his wife in it. Humpadink, humpadink, humpadink. The fact that they've kind of been like, he said true love, you know, and there's that whole that back and forth. There's like a longevity
Have
of
fun
their
storming the castle
of their relationship that is kind of drawn in that moment that is kind of also romantic. And I love even Inigo Montoya and
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. They become really great pals, and there's kind of a sweetness to the relationship.
You are the Brute Squad.
Yeah,
I know that whole movie by heart.
So I feel like and that's an interesting thing in itself, in that it really all the events that happen in Princess Bride are grand passions, aren't they? Revenge, love, and I think that's why it's so enduring and so well drawn, and why it still works even today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I go into my number 16?
Yeah. Dawn also says, when Tinkerbell reminds Pan about his wife in Hook. Another great Julia Roberts moment.
Oh, yeah. Julia Roberts. She's
also in another one of my moments.
America's sweetheart. My number 16 is Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. Leia says, "I love you," and Han says,
I know.
I know. I just love that moment. There really isn't that much to talk about that moment because it speaks for itself. Obviously, the behind-the-scenes thing is that Carrie Fisher was a little intoxicated. No, she couldn't get her lines right. She was so high on drugs. So she couldn't say, "I love you." She couldn't get it out. And so Harrison Ford, after take number 11, just said, "I know."
Oh, I thought it was also because they were having a romance and that he didn't feel the same way.
I never heard that.
They were having little sexy times.
That. Okay. That's my number 16.
I like it. Well, there was that Kate Beckinsale one that we will.
Yes, Serendipity. I didn't put that on there. It almost made my 20. I love that movie.
Where she's kind of wearing terrible trousers. For someone that now only wears Kate Beckinsale, now you never see her in that outfit.
Yeah.
But yeah, she comes onto the ice skating rink and
they finally meet each other again after 20 years or whatever.
And it is so sweet. And I think it's as well that it's that final kind of coming together after nearly missing each other so much.
So many ways, yeah.
I am hopeful, and I always say, whoever's for you will never go by you, and I always kind of keep that in my mind. And I have a few actually examples of kind of romantic personal stories, not about for me, but people I know where that actually happened. Yeah. So I think that's true.
It can happen. Number 15, I have it so low on my list of the Jack and Rose on the edge of the boat on Titanic. I'm flying, and it's a sweet moment, but it's just become so cliche in my head that there was no conflict in that moment. They were coming together.
My thing is, they were coming together on the edge of the boat. My thing about it that I like so much is that the attention to detail is where their hands kind of bind. So that's the kind of thing I like. So if you're trying to create a moment in your screenplay that is hugely romantic, that is not about sex but is about intimacy, then the kind of this knitting of the hands, and this kind of the stroking and the softness and the exploration. And I always like it when actors who are supposed to be kissing for the first time actually treat it like that, because it's so different from kissing someone you've done a lot. And so to really take that moment of that first, because it's so important, that first kiss, you don't want to rush it.
So it's important to note in the action description exactly of the visuals that are going to be helping express the feeling of that moment. You can't rely on the dialogue, because a lot of the moments we're talking about here have to do with dialogue. You complete me, everything that Hitch says, the Star Wars, I love you, I know. But it's about the moment that is surrounding the dialogue. The dialogue really is only commenting on the moment and everything that we've experienced before that. So it's really not even about the line. Even my number one, which we'll go into,
I bet you can't guess who that is.
Probably already know.
That's a really big one of saying something other when you mean something else.
Yes, right.
Okay, I like that. Mary Davis, Shrek's love story is sweet and powerful. That is sweet. That's true. And that, and it's not about looks, it's about who you are inside. I really like that too. So Breakfast at Tiffany's is one of mine.
This is one of your favorites.
And that's because I really like Holly Golightly as a character. I think she's a really flawed and interesting female from back then. And she's someone who wants to be independent and wants to have her life together. But that last moment when she's in the cab and she's going to put on her makeup and she's going to the airport anyway, even though she's got nowhere to go, and George Peppard is going, I love you, where are you, what are you doing? And she's like, fine, I'll just let the cat out here, and gets the cat out. And they drive off, and then she just stops and realizes, and she goes back to try and find the cat, and out he comes. And they have this moment where she finally kind of gives in and goes like, I do love you. And they've got the little three with the two of them kissing, and the little cat comes out, and then they're in between the two of them, and it's all soggy and wet, and it's raining, and it's like in New York, and I mean, it's a very nice moment, and it feels like he has a great arc too, in like stopping being a gigolo and actually earning his own money and getting some self-respect, and she learns that she can stand on her own 2 feet and that she is worthy of being loved, and it's just so sweet. And she looks amazing.
Come on, yeah. She's ridiculous.
All the way through. Audrey Hepburn.
My number 14, it's so cheesy, but The Notebook really is a pretty romantic frickin' movie, and it's the moment...
Frickin'. It's a romantic frickin' movie.
It really is. When Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling are getting out of the canoe after it started to pour, and she confronts him, why didn't you ever write me? It wasn't over. And he said, I wrote you every day for 365 days. It still isn't over. And then they kiss in the rain, and it's the movie poster moment. Again, heavy conflict. And a piece of information comes out where Rachel McAdams' character didn't realize that this letters were being stolen. So it's a big piece of a plot moment also. And then, of course, the two of them come together. It's a really, it is a pretty good movie.
I mean, like, they're both good actors. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Robin... I like the moment in Legally Blonde where Elle realises she's a person outside of Warner and she deserves someone who loves her, and all of her, like Emmett. Very good point.
Legally Blonde is a really great movie. It's almost like a perfect structural movie. Let's see. I've got number 13, probably a little low on the list, probably one of the most famous, Casablanca, telling Ilsa to get on the plane, we'll always have Paris. It's difficult to beat that moment. Because it's so classic.
It's 13.
I know.
But so 12 other things are
I'm
beaten that moment.
saying it's difficult, and yeah, thank you for calling me out. What the hell? I'm trying to share my favorite moment. Jesus. Casablanca, I'm explaining to you. It's difficult to meet that moment. All right, never mind. It's number one.
The other 12.
What's your stupid number one, then?
See, this is what... romance looks like.
No, this is what I'm not going to miss.
Yeah, I don't know. I think The Way We Were. I'm putting that. Yes. Robert Redford and Barbara Streisand. Again, I saw it when I was like teeny tiny toony too.
Don't know what that is, but okay.
Small. And I just remember that last moment because I was madly in love with Robert Redford at the time. I had like a massive crush on him. I think he's in that movie. He's at his most beautiful.
He's about as good looking as he ever was, yeah.
And there's just a moment where they run into each other in the street and she's protesting something and he's with his new wife who is blonde and pretty and kind of like the perfect wife for him when she's kind of crazy and outlandish and political and full of beans and her own opinions, and they kind of see each other and they kind of go like, "How you doing?" And they go like, "How you doing?"
Oh, I do remember that moment. It's a difficult moment.
And then she goes back and he goes to the car and kind of gets to the woman and she kind of watches him and he just realised that, they probably could have made it work, but they just neither of them. Maybe it's a time.
Go right in your eye.
Fly.
But yeah, and it defines the title. Because in that moment, you think about all of the ways they were, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Isn't that funny how that happens?
Good writing, that is.
Number 11 is not a great movie, but the moment is so great. I do like the movie, but the moment is pretty iconic. It's the Say Anything, the boombox moment where John Cusack's holding the boombox over his head.
Second John Cusack movie.
In Your Eyes. And second John Cusack, and he's playing the music for the girl that he wants. It's unrequited love type of situation.
Again, your favourite.
It is.
Okay, I did Notting Hill, Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts. The press
so how
conference.
high up? Oh, the press conference. Yes.
So basically, they have a
kind of
they have a scene beforehand where she kind of offers herself up, and he rejects her because he's too embarrassed. He doesn't think he's worthy, and then they're doing a press conference, and then he goes and embarrasses himself in front of everybody and says, he doesn't let on it's him, but kind of lets on it's him, and then she re-asks the question.
Right.
And then there's just a moment where she says, because they ask her how long she's going to stay in the UK, and she goes indefinitely.
Right.
And there's just a moment where he laughs and she looks at each other, and they look at each other, and again, she just plays the moment so well.
Yeah.
Whether or not she's a nice person or not, she has the ability to really make you fall in love with her.
Oh my God!
Which I always think if it's on the screen, then it's the sweetness that's within. You know what I mean, like Tom Hanks. So, but anyway, I really like that moment. I thought.
Yeah, I've got a Notting Hill in there too, which I think everybody probably knows what it is. But I mentioned Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge, that your song scene is my number 10. So my number 9. I love the movie The Wedding Singer. The very end when Adam Sandler sings the song "I Want to Grow Old with You" to Drew Barrymore on the plane. I could watch that scene over and over and over again. Have you seen Wedding Singer?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that scene. And the song's actually good.
Mary says, "Darn, Felicity, you like Lost Love?" I do, actually, when I think about the others as well. They do have the advantage that characters don't have to deal with budgets and growing old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got?
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy. I know, so good.
So,
yeah. I like this moment in The Holiday. I think, again, like, it's not crazy, but it's this moment where Cameron Diaz actually starts crying about Jude Law. She's kind of on her way home.
It's the first time she cries.
And it's the first time she's cried since her dad died or whatever it is. Like, and so she realizes that she
is in love with him.
Yeah, has more feelings for him than she realized, and she isn't afraid to go back and get it. So I guess in my moments that I like a lot, there is a sense that the women are going after what they like and what they want.
Yeah.
So that probably should.
Well, they're in a place of strength, because it's interesting, because the scene with Julia Roberts saying, "I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love me." Yeah. That is putting her in a weaker position. But then he leaves.
But then she leaves when he says no. So.
And so your favorite moment was the press conference where she's elevated, she's in the place of power, and he has to come to her. Yeah. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
no surprise there, I guess.
My number 8, we already talked about, The Princess Bride. It's the As You Wish down the hill, but as he's rolling down. There are so many moments in Princess Bride. But my number 7 is one of my favorite movie scenes in Forrest Gump, when Forrest is up in front of the Washington Monument, the mall, and he's giving that speech to all those people. There's like thousands of people.
Water.
Yeah, in the water in front of the Washington Monument. And he finishes the speech, but like the plug had been pulled out, and he says, "And that's what happened in Nam," or whatever. And then you hear Jenny yell out in the crowd, "Forrest!" Then they meet in the middle of the mall. Come on. It's just,
in the middle of the water.
Kills me. But then it's like a tie there in the same movie is the grave scene at the end of Forrest Gump when he's talking.
Oh, God.
It kills me even just thinking about it. I mean, just, oh, God, epically horrible. He's talking about his son and, whew. Yeah.
God, straight there.
Yeah, straight there.
Awful. Straight there.
Yeah. All right, we're in top 5 category coming up here. I want to share my number 6, but yeah.
I did want to do... I want you to do Being There. I mean, I probably Being There is in probably my top 5.
Being There, I don't know Being There.
Being There is the Shirley MacLaine, Peter Sellers movie.
Oh yeah. That's your favorite.
It's my favorite movie of all time. One of my favorites. Probably that would be one I'd have on a desert island. as long as I can have the bloopers as well, because the blooper bit of it is so amazing. But because Peter Sellers likes to giggle, and he plays a very serious character in it. But what I love about it is there's a love story really between Shirley MacLaine's character and her husband who is dying. And then there's kind of almost like a love story between the husband that's dying and Peter Sellers' character, and then Peter Sellers' character and Shirley MacLaine. So it becomes this kind of sweet triangle of people looking after each other in their hour of need. And there's a very funny moment in it where he has, Chauncey Gardiner Peter Sellers' character hasn't learned how to kiss, and so he's watching it on the movie as Shirley MacLaine's trying to kiss him, and he's like watching the TV like, to see it at the same time. So it's kind of like funny and silly and romantic and awkward. And also the last scene in that is literally one of my, again, if I think about that.
And Peter Sellers and Shirley MacLaine are two of the greatest ever. I mean, they're just unbelievable.
But I could cry my eyes out. I can't even get to the one that always makes me cry. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, really.
Jesus.
That's not even your number one.
No.
Man, my number 6 is the end scene in La La Land. It's just so romantic and so heartbreaking and such a wonderful rendition of what could have been kind of stuff. And I remember watching that and thinking, I watched it, I guess it was almost 3 years ago now. And I remember thinking, I'm so disappointed I'm not more broken up about this. That's when I realized I am not a hopeless romantic anymore. Had I seen that when I was 25, forget it. It would have been the greatest movie moment in the history of ever,
Right.
And I just didn't. I felt it. I understood how heartbreaking it was, but I just didn't feel as awful as I
just literally split up with my boyfriend at that time.
That's right.
I was at the movies. He brought another girl to come and see the movie.
No.
I was at the movie at the same time.
Come on. I didn't know that.
And we were watching that movie, and it was just kind of a special one to both of us anyway, because we know Damien Chazelle, and kind of like we'd been out with him in London, and like we had this whole kind of like a special attachment. We knew he was working on this movie. It was kind of a big deal.
It was before he became really big.
Yeah, well, because I mean, Whiplash. It was kind of we saw him Whiplash time anyway. So we go to see this movie. It's the ArcLight in Hollywood, and I'm there with my gay friend. He is there with a new girl. And
already, it's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was really quickly afterwards. And we were together for 5.5 years. Yeah. And he was there, and I just remember looking across and seeing him. And my stomach, I mean, I can still remember how that felt in that moment of just like, oh.
Yeah.
This might be why this is why I lost love, Mary. And then I kind of saw him, and then that movie is all about choosing your career over love, and that's kind of a bit what was kind of happening, and it was so indicative of our time. And we met him in my first week of coming to LA, and it was just like, I mean, I think I went home and I cried.
I'm sure you did.
15 buckets.
So where does that scene land in your list then?
I know, I put it in there. I mean, like, thing is, but then I love that scene because there's an understanding of what could have been. And you get to see that in that lovely romanticized version of the kind of the dance scene.
But they accepted it.
But they're like, hey. Yeah. They're like, hey, we get it.
Yeah.
And they both got what they wanted. So she got the career that she wanted, and he now has a jazz club, and it's,
It's still heartbreaking and
they didn't
painful,
get each other, but they got what they wanted.
Right.
And I'm sure one day that's how I will feel.
Oh, man. Well, truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah. My number 5 is the Colin Firth asking Aurelia to marry her in Portuguese. That's part of my top 5. I love that moment from Love Actually.
What's this one? When Robin Williams' character literally goes to hell to save his wife in What Dreams May Come.
Wow, I forgot about that movie.
When they connect his magic. I would like to have some Robin Williams movies on my list if I think about it, because
when Robin Williams is talking to Will Hunting about his wife. And he's talking about the cancer, and like kind of to teach the kid to shut up, like it was a tough moment. Like he was being hard on Will by saying, I didn't know, I was going to sit next to my wife every day for 3 years because of her cancer or whatever. It's like this long monologue. There's a Robin Williams moment for you. Yeah.
About love and everything.
And then on the same level of epic depression is my number 4. The Carl and Annie marriage montage from Up. Oh God, it's just it's one of those things where I could watch it over and over and over again and probably cry just as hard every time.
And well, the thing is, like, you sit down in the cinema and you're like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
watch this lovely animated
Little
movie.
Pixar movie, and suddenly
There's all these balloons. It's
Yeah.
a house with all balloons. How amazing. You sit down, and in the first 10 minutes they went, here's a knife, I'm just going to shove it straight in
Yeah.
your heart, I'm going to twist it round like this and twirly
God.
motion, and I'm going to flick the bits of heart out behind me over your shoulder,
And then
you're
just
gonna
how
be dead.
adorable they were when they were kids, and how full of life she was, and how just nervous and a nerd he. Oh God, yeah, that's.
I like writer girl Karma. 16 candles. Samantha is standing in the chapel staircase, just coming back from getting her sister's
course.
veil. The cars part, and there stands Jake waiting to meet her. And of course, the final moment with Samantha and Jake sitting across from one another over the birthday cake, and they lean in for a kiss.
Yeah.
Swoon. I love the way you write that.
80s, very
Writer girl
80s, and
Karma.
it's wonderful. Yeah.
So amazing.
My number 3 is the Notting Hill moment. I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy. That's my number 3.
Number 3. I have got. Oh, we've done that. Danny Zuko and Sandy in Greece.
Oh.
They're on the beach. They're like, "Is this what it be forever, Danny?" And he goes like, "No, this is Oh, I'm gonna love you forever," or something like that. She goes like, "Oh, Danny."
This is one of your top like 4.
No,
3,
but I liked it. I thought it was funny.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. The way we were Annie Hall, I think is just
Annie
like
Hall.
it's a kind
There
of
are
good
a
one.
few in Annie Hall.
Lost in Translation. That's kind of a weirdly beautiful romantic.
There is, yes, very uncomfortable kind of thing, but it's still really pretty and
well, I
it's
feel like it's
beautiful.
just that you can understand that she's with the wrong guy, you know. Scarlett Johansson is with someone who is so wrapped up in his... Oh, God, hello. It's amazing, isn't it? You hear that story about lost love and then you understand why I like all this one. She chooses someone that's not that into her and finds what it's like to actually have someone pay attention to her. So there are so many sweet moments in that movie to kind of make you understand.
Yeah.
Crazy Stupid Love, great.
Yeah, I've seen that movie once, and I remember the moment with Emma Stone, and it's where they do the Dirty Dancing moment
Dirty
or whatever.
Dancing,
He
lifts over. I think there's also a moment where they're in bed together.
Yeah.
And they haven't had sex, and he's a gigolo, not gigolo, but he's always shagging everything that moved.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. Okay.
so for her, he's got the whole setup,
Right,
like
he's
the lights
total
go
bachelor.
down, the blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and so then for them just to stay up talking.
Right.
That's what real romance is, isn't it? Where you stay up all night talking, you don't want to go to sleep, you just kind of find something else interesting to chat about, and
Right. Yeah. Is that we're in kind of top 5 territory?
yeah. Well, I'm putting that there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because I see
Stop
a
looking at
couple
mine. It's
there
yours.
that I'm like, all right. So my number 2, almost my number 1, is George Lasso's The Moon and It's a Wonderful Life. What do you want, Mary? You want the moon? I know that whole scene by heart. I just love that moment. There isn't a lot of conflict there, but it's so sweet. And there's conflict because just because you've seen it so many times, how difficult it's going to be. But it's just so, like, they're just kids being kids, and there's just a sense of freedom there. That whole sequence where she makes a wish and she throws a rock through the window, it's wonderful.
Okay,
It's
and
Wonderful
mine
Life.
is like I'm doing like a one little last bad one before we go, and that's a breakup scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he is completely naked and has been eating Cheerios on the couch.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Yeah,
And,
I can't handle
and in
it.
comes Kristen Bell, and
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. And it's not really romantic, but you can tell that at one time there was something.
Oh, for sure there
and
was.
then he has totally messed it up by being
Just lazy
and
not
lost
having
in
a life.
himself,
And,
and
yes, right, lost himself.
and
But-
kind of relying on her for his life, and
But also the process of him realizing that she wasn't right for him either. Like there was a mutual
she wasn't.
thing.
Yeah, she wasn't happy. I mean, she's not happy, definitely not right for Russell Brand's character either. But I mean, like, there's that moment where there's just the argument where he's naked and been eating Cheerios. I think
Right.
it's just a brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant kind of
Yeah.
example.
All right, so we have 5 minutes left. We may not be able to do trivia, but what are your top 2? We'll go top 2 for you.
well, that was my top second, and I've only got one left.
All right. Felicity knows what my number 1 is. That's an easy one. All of you watching,
Everyone
probably.
knows.
Carrie, my sister, knows what my number 1 romantic movie moment is. It's probably hers too. If Carrie can guess it, I'll give her a cookie.
Go on then, do it.
Well, I'm going to wait for her. So what is yours? I'm going to wait to see if my sister can guess what my favorite romantic movie moment is.
We're on a delay, so I'm going to take a moment.
She doesn't want. She wants to end with her number one and have my number one say before yours, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, say it. Everyone's already heard yours a million times.
All right, fine. It's not even going to be a surprise. When Harry Met Sally, New Year's Eve, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with someone you'd like the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. It's that whole speech that Harry gives in front of Sally, and it's my favorite. I love it.
And she goes, I hate you, I hate you, yeah. I hate you.
You can't come in here and tell me that you love me. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
And also, I like this. Mary Davis put it earlier when we sent that lovely little note around, and she actually said, I love the old couple stories and when Harry met Sally. And you're right, that is a lovely
the old couple story
kind of moment in it too, that really kind of adds to this section, this kind of like moment of what is going on there, and what real life looks like. Okay, so my favorite
moment,
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, when at the end of the movie they decide to give it another go, even though they know
it's not going to work,
that they're going to start annoying each other again,
right.
And they're going to be, he's going to think she's thoughtless, and she's going to think he's boring. And
what's his line? He just says,
I don't remember. I don't care.
He just says so.
So.
And then I think she just laughs. Like he's like, okay. I mean, I think he says okay. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And then she just starts laughing.
And I mean, whenever I watch that movie, I have to like allow myself 15 minutes of crying afterwards. Because it literally does touch me to the core of what I think love is all about, is that even when you know it's going to be shit, you have to keep trying, and you have to don't give up. Try and see if you can find the good stuff. I mean, I definitely think that's
and it's also part of the experience, because they were admitting to each other that, you know what, maybe what we experienced aside from the bad stuff was amazing enough to go through the bad stuff.
Yeah. I did find a quiz, but I don't know the answers.
It's okay. We're pretty much coming up to an hour here. I think that was fun, and everybody was sharing theirs. We even have a Fern Gully reference. That's amazing, Dawn. We're bringing up Fern Gully here. She turned Zach back to his regular size. It's very calm and sweet. Yeah, I mean, I've seen Fern Gully maybe twice, and I think it was 25 years ago, but I do think I know what you're talking about. She's giving the human back to the human world or something, but thank you for tuning in, everybody. My sister and my brother-in-law Aaron tuned in way too late. You missed all of the good stuff, man. Could have been sharing your favorite romantic movie moments. One glass of wine.
Everybody. It's really lovely evening.
Well, but thank you to Steel Wines, as always. Thank you to everybody watching. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you do something fun this weekend, whether you're single, whether you're with somebody or not. Go out and do something for yourself. And
don't give up on love.
Don't give up on love.
Be kind to each other.
It's okay to be hopelessly romantic. Just don't be romantically hopeless.
Oh, that's like a greetings card.
There you go. Yeah.
I should pay you for that.
Well,
It's like a fridge magnet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going to miss me when I'm gone.
This is going to be one of my last Wine Wednesday broadcasts, so it's been fun. I'll be back, I'm sure, sometime this year, but it isn't like a forever thing, but we're going to get some new folks coming in and enjoying their time with Felicity. But it's been fun, everybody. You're going to see plenty more of us in other ways and other means. If you're able to go to a Third Thursdays in your area, if you're in LA, you can come out to ours. Next week, Thursday, we'll be here.
We certainly will. And have a lovely rest of the week, and happy Valentine's Day.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.